devil is amongst us. Stay back, boy. This calls for divine intervention. I kick ass for the Lord.
What a field day for the heat. 1,000 people in the streets, singing songs and carrying signs, mostly say hooray for our side. For what it's worth, Buffalo Springfield. Welcome to Heresy and Hearsay's Reverend Barney Sermons. I'm Reverend Barney, and you can follow me on Twitter at SethRothII, and you can follow the show on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and any podcast catcher. Just look for Heresy and Hearsay. Please like, share, subscribe, follow, and give us and all of that stuff. Also, give us a review that helps others find us. You can also find my partner and better half of the Heresy and Hearsay podcasts, September, on Twitch and Twitter at 9of12. That's NINEOF 12. And you can hear her on the Geek Growth podcast weekly. Heresy and Hearsay has a Patreon site that you can find at patreon.com/heresy and hearsay, where you can visit and help to support us. Just $2 a month goes a long way to help us make these humble shows. You can also contribute with bits on Twitch, or subscribe free if you have Amazon Prime when we do the show live. Tonight's show, I have more things to say about the Black Lives Matter, and we'll be covering it in a different way on Tuesday's main show. But there was an incident that's happened this week that still bothers me, and there's still a lot of venom in me because of it, and I want to get that out of my system as much as I can. Religion and politics have been intertwined for ever since there has been a thing called religion and a thing called politics. In Mesopotamia and in the pharaohs claimed that they were gods. The Greeks used gods as part of their calls to war and to philosophy and everything else. They would use oracles that were at Delphi and other places that were supposedly linked to the gods for divine inspiration for things that they needed to do. The Romans, after they became the conquerors they were, the Caesars were all claimed to be gods yet again. Divine right for multiple kings and queens throughout the ages of multiple countries. Many pagan kings would convert to Christianity so that they would have the backing of the church in their conquests, and use that as a focal point for divine right for their righteousness to rule and righteousness to war. It is written into many documents about God-given rights. When the United States was formed, they did their best to separate politics and religion. It was always there. They never used the Christian term. There was always creative rights or creator. And in fact, it wasn't until the 1950s that, in fact, 1952, that under God was put into the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States. And In God We Trust was not first printed on money until 1957. And that is because it was a rebuke towards the USSR, who communism rejects religion of all kinds. And it was a rebuke to that. And that was the door that opened for politicians to then embrace God and to use that in their political platforms from that point on. What happened this week when President Trump, in a fascist move, cleared out peaceful protesters across the street from the White House so he could walk across the street and have a photo op holding a Bible that I'm not going to mock and say he can't read, but I am going to say he's probably never read, and I've only been in the church once that he stood in front of, and that was a requirement for his, not a requirement, but it's a tradition for the inauguration for that president to go to that particular church. He is not a believer, because believers show by actions. Fascism, and I know that people are tired of that term, but that term holds a lot of connotations. And really, if you look at what's been going on in the last 4 years, and even previous to that, we've been slowly marching up towards that cliff. American fascism is wrapped in the is wrapped in the flag, holding the Bible. It looks different than Jewish fascism, or not Jewish fascism, I apologize. It looks different than German fascism and Nazism. But religion was used there too. Though a lot of people like to talk about the occult, there was a lot of Christian use, a lot of Christian doctrine, dogma that was used to help reinforce the occult side as well. But they used what was prevalent to them. What is prevalent in the United States is Christianity. It is a dividing rod. It is used as a blunt instrument. You can't, I don't have to serve you because you're gay because I'm a Christian. I don't have to bake this cake for you because you're a gay couple and I'm a Christian. I don't have to help you as a medical professional because I'm a Christian and I feel that you should not get a morning after pill. It doesn't matter how you need that pill. It is used as a blunt instrument. I'm doing this podcast. I started this podcast with September because I was tired of using or seeing my faith used as a blunt instrument for lies and hate. It has been no clearly used that way. It has been, I apologize. It has been used no more definite than this week. That it has been used for hate. That it has been used for lies. Than what happened with the president using U.S. troops to clear out peaceful protesters. Not 99, not 99.9, 100% peaceful protesters and people of faith that were members of that church and members of other churches that were helping out with the protests. and they used tear gas, and they used pepper spray, and they used flashbangs, and they threatened, and they used fear to push these people out. So a president who doesn't believe in God could claim that he was divinely given and had divine right to be able to walk across the street for a photo opportunity. There are times I wish that God still smote people. But on the same things, these are lessons that we can learn. Will we learn them? I don't know. Most religious, true religious people that don't get their money from hate condemn this act. There are religious leaders. Franklin Graham is one of them. There are many others. But he's the one that always sticks out to me because he is so not like his father. That applauded this. People forget, or people don't, I believe, truly understand the cleansing of the temple. Some do, don't get me wrong, but those who are influencers, I don't think they get it. I don't think they understand it. Because that was his death sentence, and Jesus knew that when he did that was going to be what set him on his path. But he had to do it because it was needed to be done. Money changers, people who were cheating people out of money and were selling sacrifices and stuff in the temple grounds, was condoned by the church of that time, was condoned by that temple. They approved of them. They applauded them. They got rich off of them. Jesus said no, because that's not what this faith is about. This is not what this belief is. This belief is not about that. It's not about the sacrifices. It's not about the money. After Jesus was crucified, sacrifices stopped for the Jewish faith, especially, at least there. For the most part. There's a time frame, but for the most part, they stopped. The church in America, as we know it, is condoning hate, is condoning all of this vileness, the separation of people, the approving of race fighting instead of trying to bring people together. And this is the church as we know it, not the people of faith. There are people of faith who are part of an organized religion that are not that way. Dr. Reverend Barber is a prime example, and there are many others. But the church as we know it, the large church as we know it, and I know we don't have a Catholic church huge thing like you would in Europe, which has got a huge Catholic power, and you don't have the temple like you had back then. But we do have a evangelical Christians who are led by megachurch individuals who believe in the prosperity doctrine, who are getting rich off of hate, who condone the president using fascist actions for a photo opportunity, who have forgotten the teachings or refused to read the teachings of Jesus taking care of the poor, of Jesus talking about how a rich man will not enter heaven, and how Trump has gotten his praise because Jesus says it's better that you are to pray in a closet and not be boastful about your faith. So it bugs me, it bothers me a great deal about what Trump did on the level of the fascism that was just on rampant display, on the cruelty and just the cowardice that this man showed to bully people of his own nation, people that probably didn't vote for him, but people that he represents as the president of the United States, people he swore to protect, that he bullied because he wanted a photo op. But as a Christian, it hurts me more. Not because he did it, because he's going to do that stuff because he is a showboat. He is a boaster. He comes out and he rolls in the ashes and puts on the sackcloth and says, "Woe is me," kind of thing. Not really, but you know what I'm saying. He's the boaster, the man on that corner that Jesus talked about. He has received his reward already. But it's the people of faith, the people who claim to believe in Jesus Christ, the people who claim to believe in God, that says, that's my man. He is a Christian man. Look at him standing there, not even knowing how to hold a Bible properly. It's not even his Bible he was holding. He already said it. And people went ahead and praised him for it. That's what hurts me. While people are being beaten up and killed still by police brutality, the whole reason that these protests are going on, there are men and women that are being injured and killed by the police because they don't want to give up their authority. There are people claiming to be Christians that are okay with it, that are okay with all of this, because they want fascism as it stands in America, because they want this, they want a tyrant, because that's when they personally feel safe. Because they don't know the true peace of true Christianity. True Christianity is you have to be challenged. You have to not be afraid to be challenged. And you have to stand up for your faith. The Catholics have a lot of saints that are martyrs. The Christians of America would be the first person to pick up a stone to those martyrs. Because they're cowards. Because they are afraid of change. Because they can't stand to be different. Because they do not have true faith in their faith. It takes a mustard seed of faith to move a mountain, Jesus said. They can't even find the mustard seeds. So they back a man who claims to be a strong man, but he's a coward. He claims to be this big tough man, but he's a coward. And he's a bully. And most bullies are cowards. You stand up to a bully. If you're a kid and you're growing up and you've been bullied, I'm sure, at least in my generation, you were told, stand up to the bully and they'll back down. And in most cases, it was true. If you put up a big enough front and you believed in yourself and it wasn't like timid, if you actually got up, put your shoulders back and says, I'm not letting you bully me anymore, they would back down. So that being said, here we are. We have people claim to be Christians who are afraid and can't even be Christians of their own faith. Because they don't have the conviction of their faith. They're being led by a bully and a coward who has no faith except in himself. And they're led by leaders who their whole purpose is to get more money. Because they've made their decision. You cannot serve God and money. And they've chose money. They're just using God to get the money. So yeah, I'm still upset about that. I'm still upset about all these Christian leaders who claim to be Christian leaders who are railing against all of this. All the Christians who, or all those people who claim to be Christians, all those who are on television and everything else that claim to be Christians and yet are railing against these protests because they don't want the things to change. They want things to remain the same because that means they have the power and things will be nice and good and they can get their haircuts again and those people will be back in their place. Those people will occasionally play baseball or football or something for them and we'll watch them cheer, but they don't get equal rights. They don't even get civil rights. Black Lives Matter. Fundamentally, it isn't about them being better than anybody else, because that's not the point. The point is that for so long, especially when it comes to the police, their lives were shit. The police felt they could do anything. The police felt they could get away with anything. And finally, maybe things are changing. I pray so. I hope so. There's been a lot of pain. A lot of hurt. And you can only hurt so much before you stand up and you scream no more. And that's the case now. And we have a bully and a coward in the office. And it's time for Christians to make a decision if they're really Christians or if they just play that because they want to look, because it's a social thing. Because they want to go to a church and be socially acceptable. Because go to a building and hang out for an hour. That's fine. Listen to somebody talk about how if you give them money, you may get some money too. That's fine. But don't use my religion for it. Don't use my faith for it. If you can't stand up for the disenfranchised like Jesus did, if you can't stand up for those who are hurting, those who need to be healed like Jesus did, if you stand with the oppressors and not the oppressed, then you're not a Christian. And you need to sit down. And you need to claim a new faith. because you're not part of mine. And I'm tired of pretending anymore. And I'm tired of dealing with it anymore. If you want to praise God money, praise Him. He won't do anything for you, but praise Him anyways. Because Jesus told you not to. Jesus healed the sick and hung out with the criminals. If a criminal was to walk into your church, if a sinner was to walk into your church, would you accept them? Because your house is not, that house of the Lord is not for the saints. It's for him. It's for her. It's for the sick. It's for the ill. It's for the sinners. It's for the people that want redemption. And for the people who want to find the strength to fight for every soul and to fight every injustice. Jesus would have been a social justice warrior. And if you can't see that in your white towers as you go to your sports clips and you eat your Applebee's, then you're going to have a rude awakening when you meet up with God. And He looks in His book and He's like, what have you done? I prayed every Sunday. You prayed to money every Sunday. You prayed not to me. Fascism, when it comes to America, will be wrapped in an American flag holding a Bible. That's all I have. If you're a Christian out there, show it. Stand up with the oppressed. Stand up with the voiceless. Be their voice. Be their amplifier. It's time that you actually show that you're a Christian. It's time to be able and be willing to take that stone for them. That's my sermon tonight. I thank you. You can follow us, find us, Google Heresy and Hearsay, Patreon, all that. You can follow me at SethRothII. You know where to find September. On Twitter at 9 of 12. That's NINEOF 12. We'll have a new show up. We'll probably record on Tuesday. Today is the 7th that I'm recording. This will be up on the 8th, Monday. We'll record Tuesday night, and then it'll probably be up on Wednesday on YouTube. That's all I have right now. And I say into the night, let us not forget, there is hope.